Hello, everybody. My name is Khanyi M, and welcome to On The Kouch. Hello, you guys. We are back. I can't imagine that I sound sexy. I don't think that I do, but yeah, guys. Hey, guys. Welcome back to my channel and stuff. I'm very excited. I think very quickly, let's just get into the talk of shame. Um, Really and truly. So, I've been missing in action. I've been very much MIA, and that is because I've just been down with the flu. Like, if there's anything that can take me out and keep me down and hold me by the neck, darling, like keep its foot on my neck, it's definitely flu. Like, if that thing is not taking away my voice, it's straining my throat. It's just, there was even just a point where um speaking was a very uncomfortable act for me. So that's why I missed last week's episode. Even this week, I've been recovering just a little bit because there are moments where I just hurl, darling, into a coffee. Where I just get hurled into a cough. And I just have fits where I am coughing. And the thing that irritates me the most about that is because it happens most of the time when I'm like in a room full of people and it's quiet. Like this one time it happened at church and I could not stop coughing. Like I couldn't, but it was so bad that when I eventually excused myself, um, I nearly just brought things back that should not be coming out of my mouth. But I am feeling so much better. There are moments where I just have a fit of coughing, but I'm very much less congested right now. My body has kind of returned back to itself. Because one thing about flu also, um, my muscles just hurt. And actually, I want to drag my friend really quickly. She recommended Med Lemon to me. Now, I don't know if I was doing it wrong. Apparently, the rule of thumb with drinking Med Lemon is that you almost immediately have to cover yourself. Um, like just go under the blankets and cover your entire body and sleep like that so you can sweat it out. I think that's the belief. But that first week, I finished a bottle of cough syrup. I went through I don't know how many sachets of um of Med Lemon. It was so bad that we've had construction going on in the house, and the guy that was working here started thinking that I've got some kind of like chronic sickness or something. But anyway, I don't want to labor that point. That's why I've kind of been MIA. I was just down with the flu, but I'm feeling much, much, much better. So we are back. Like, oh, no. Hello. um, and yeah, in my being MIA, actually, one of the things that I have been working on is getting into video production. There was even a point where I was looking at my analytics on YouTube and I saw that I think 50% of my audience watches me on, okay, that sounds like I'm pulling in serious numbers. Speaking of, I'm going to leave my YouTube channel in the description, right? I think it's called a description, even on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but I will leave it in the episode description. And you guys, please must just go subscribe so I can grow my page. My YouTube page, that is, I'll leave the link there so you guys can just go subscribe, have a look see. But yeah, I was bringing up YouTube to say that I was looking at my analytics and I saw that like 50% of people watch us on TV. And so it's like, give the people what they want. Because I think also most of the feedback that we've been getting is we want video. And to be quite honest, my mom is one of the people, one of the, like, yeah, she's like the biggest person that's giving me a lot of grief. Okay, it's not a grief, but like she's on my neck about getting into production. And she's been so supportive, guys, about my journey, which I love and I'm very grateful for because I understand that it's something that is so rare. Um, but yeah, so me being MIA, that's one of the things that I have been working on. We will be getting into video production. I'm working on that. I'm doing a lot of research. when it comes to equipment, because I don't want to buy like the wrong things. Also, I don't want to start small. Like, I know it's like start where you are, but when I think of OTK, the vision that I have is not one that I want to compromise on. So that's kind of why I'm being very careful about when and how I get into video production, because I really, really want to do my vision justice. I want to do the vision that the Lord has given me justice as far as OTK goes. But yeah, like I said, the idea is to launch with full on production instead of starting small. But I am praying about it so that the Lord would provide his timeline and kind of how we should go about that. But yeah, I feel like yeah, Shoguti, it's been a week and some change that we've been here, because I just started speaking and I just went on and on and on and on and on. I did not, I haven't yet introduced the topic for today, what we will be seated with. But that's kind of the admin that I just wanted to get out of the way. That yes, I've been down with the flu, but the girl has been hard at work. I've been bowing my head. Um, and yeah, so today we are seated with Illuminated Living. So this is kind of like the whole point of On the Couch pod, right? So that we can just all tap into um, a place of living illuminated lives. And so, how illuminated living is actually going to find expression before I get into kind of, the meat of it all, is that it's going to be a segment on the couch. So don't be surprised or think that you've listened to the episode already if a month from now you see another episode that's titled Seated with Illuminated Living. It is a segment that we will be offering just so we can drive the vision of the pod home, you know, so that the reason why the Lord said this, do this, establish this, start this, build this, work on this, um, so that it can be brought into manifestation. But to kind of explain illuminated living in very loose terms, it's all about making the gospel practical. It's about living out the gospel, right? Um, if I really do put a little bit of effort into defining it, illuminated living really and truly is just the posture of a life that has been shaped and guided by truth. And in a world where we are living under so much ignorance and we're clouded with so much ignorance, there is a lack of truth that is existing amongst our generation. But yeah, it's where who you are and how you live and what you build is formed from within, with the aid of the Holy Spirit and the revelation of the person of Jesus. And it's not something that is performed for the world, right? Like I had said in, I believe, one of the episodes, I think it was a trailer. I was speaking about how on this podcast, we are here to unlearn the patterns of the world, and we're here to embody um, and live out the standard of God and nothing less than. And so, continuing on um, in defining illuminated living, really and truly, it's living from revelation and not reaction. So, the decisions that we make as illuminated individuals are not ones that are reactive to certain situations, but it's decisions that are made and that are driven by revelation. That we are not ones that decide to take up a certain course because it's in high demand or it's a high paying industry, but we are ones that select a degree and a course out of revelation, understanding that the space that the Lord wants me to go in um, is some place where He's wired me or He's deposited something in me that would meet a certain gap in that industry. So we are not reactive individuals when we are living illuminated lives, but we are ones that move from revelation. We are ones that allow God to first form us as individuals before we produce anything or build anything. And the issue with, you know, our time and our generation is that we are people that just want to build and produce so many things. We just want to build, want to establish, want to do this and do that without first being produced as individuals or being built by the Lord Himself, right? Illuminated living entails choosing a life that is extremely intentional, understanding that every step we take is intentional. I have this thing sometimes. all the time rather. Um, Guys, this is why I couldn't record. Like every time I breathe or I let in like a whiff of air, it's almost like it tickles my throat and it throws me into a cough. So if my voice just does funny things, just know that I'm fighting for my life trying to suppress a cough. But yeah, there's this thing that I like doing, especially in the mornings, where when I have breakfast, I really just want to be present. I don't want to, I try not to keep myself busy with like a lot of things like having my breakfast and scrolling on my phone or even just reading something, even if it's a physical copy of something. I really and truly try not to do a lot of that because I that's the intention, the kind of intentionality that I'm speaking about, that you are present in every moment, that you are fully immersed in everything that you are doing. And so that's what it looks like. It looks like living a life that is anchored, one that is led by light, light being truth, hence also illuminated living. So it's choosing all of these things over and above culture, pressure, the standards and the patterns of the world, and performing, living a very performative life. So, yeah, illuminated living in a nutshell is living the kind of life that flows from being deeply informed in truth, where you're no longer living to figure out yourself in the world. You're not looking for your answers in the world, but you're living from the light of who God has already said you are, who He has already revealed, right? And another point that I want to kind of touch, an observation, call it an observation, insight, or revelation. But one of the things that I've noticed with the church is that we have the tendency of just preaching the word to you guys. We have the tendency of just teaching you the word, in this eloquent nature, with a lot of diction, and we just teach, we just speak, but we very rarely equip a people or equip the body of Christ with practice, like, yeah, with, I don't want to say practical steps, because it's gonna sound like I'm saying 5 steps to being rich, and that's not what that is. That is definitely not what that is. But we very rarely show you how to make the principles of the word very practical. We very rarely show the people of God how to live it out and make it practical. And so that's why I started off by explaining illuminated living in a very loose manner, that loosely translated, illuminated living is just about making the gospel practical. It's about living it out. That in a world where people pick and choose how or what they want to align their lives, or align the word to their lives, or have expressed through their lives, in accordance to what the word is saying, we are saying that it's all encompassing, that every facet of our lives is going to be a vehicle for expression of the word of the Lord. We're not picking and choosing that we might smoke, but we won't participate in sexual sin, that we might party, but we're not going to use profane language. Like, we're not picking and choosing. We are taking all of it, the truth, in all its fullness, and we're going to live it out. And so that's what illuminated living is. Um, when I think of it fully visualized, it will be, like I already mentioned, it's going to be a segment on the podcast. I think let's first take it from there. It's going to be a segment on the podcast, and there'll be, each episode is going to be us seated with a certain conversation. Like, one time we'll debunk our finances. We'll talk about how to tackle debt. And once we get to a point where we are bringing in guests, of course, I'm going to bring like experts who are going to touch on the topic. Because, yeah, I've never been a fan of math. I only liked it in grade 6, and that's because my teacher was extremely good and I nailed it. But besides that, I've never been a fan of it. In fact, I selected my degree. It doesn't sound very good, but one of the things that I loved about my degree, in fact, this is something that a friend of mine, we weren't friends, of course, at the time of us making the decision to study, but we met at varsity. And one of the things that we discovered we loved about our respective courses, we were doing the same thing actually, was that we didn't need a calculator. We were like, oh, great. But I'm saying that to say that I will be bringing in people that are experts in whatever we'll be speaking about. If it's, law, deep banking laws and policies, the aim really and truly is to show you guys how to live out the principles of God. How do we show up in the marketplace as children of God? How do we run our businesses in accordance to what the word says and the principles that are highlighted in the Bible? How do we handle our finances in accordance to that? How do we show up like in our relationships? Like, how do we live out our lives in full illumination? So that's how it's really going to look like on the pod. But beyond the pod, in the community that we're going to build, I am seeing like social gatherings where we are, as OTK, like hosting events, sporting events, because we are, okay, I'm a team of one. I think this is like the small business owner in me, where when you communicate, we're like, okay, cool, we'll get back to you. And the we is me, really and truly. The social media manager, honey, the brand strategist, the finance girly, the marketing head, everything, the HR lady, everything. But yeah, as OTK, we do want to build a community of just illuminated living, hosting gatherings where we curate beautiful experiences for you guys. Um, Going beyond what we currently see in the market. And I'm not shading anybody, right? I'm really not shading anybody. But I think one of the injustices that we do to you guys with like hosting events and stuff like that is that we focus so much on, like, there's just this trend of focusing so much on healing and trauma and pain and tears and all of that good stuff, which is good. The reason why I'm saying I'm not shading anyone is because I would like to believe that when people host events, there's an assignment that is attached to that. So I am not going to frown upon any of that, but one of the things that we negate is showing people how to live. Like, okay, now that you've healed, this is how you go out and you live your life. And so that's what we are going to kind of resuscitate, if not give birth to, as OTK through the arm of Illuminated Living. We want to curate experiences. We want to create memories. We want to build a community where people have hobbies, where people are expanding themselves and growing and living life and loving it fully. And the most important part is doing it within the confines of the speakings of the Lord, of the heart of the Lord, the standards of the Lord, and never crossing the boundary of mixing the word of the Lord with the world. We're never going to do that. So if you're listening and you're probably thinking there's going to be alcohol at any of these events, no, my babes, forget about it. um, but yeah, so that's what I think of when I think of illuminated living, one step at a time. It's going to find full expression ASAP Rocky on the pod, but the curated experiences are going to follow. So stay tuned. I'm so excited. It's not even funny. But I think then, having said that, I'm going to segue so beautifully into a life update. And not that I'm making anything about myself, guys. The only lived experience I have is my own. I've only ever experienced life through the lens of Khanyi M. And so I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a life update, and I'm going to attach it, or yeah, enable this life update to bring expression to illuminated living. And so the first update, the first update is that I have since launched my foundation. Ah! Oh my gosh, like a surge of joy just went through my entire body right now. I have, I went public with my launch 2 days ago. Not went public with my launch, what am I saying? I went public with my foundation about 2 days ago. Um, the name of the foundation is the Prudence and Primrose Foundation, that is named after two very important women in my life. One of them being my mom, who is Prudence, and my aunt, who is Primrose. So that's why it's called the Prudence and Primrose Foundation. These are two women in my life that have contributed immensely. The women that you guys get to experience and see today, they've had a very heavy hand. And so it's almost like honoring the women that started it all before making the great impact that the Lord has sent me on earth or has me on earth to make. So I'm very, very excited. My foundation, I love that baby. And let me actually tell you guys a very interesting fact. Okay, maybe I won't divulge everything, but the foundation has been sitting in a corner since 2020. Initially, it was supposed to be called the Prudence. No, it was supposed to be Prudence and Primrose Women Empowerment. Um, but yeah, having kind of dug deeper into this purpose thing and the identity thing and what destiny looks like, there's the understanding that it goes beyond the boundaries of women empowerment. And so that's why now it's just the Prudence and Primrose Foundation. If I don't know if you guys can hear it in my voice, but really and truly, if the Lord were to say, pick one thing, pick one assignment and leave the rest, I would happily grab Prudence and Primrose. Very quick, without a doubt. One of the things that I've also kind of been realizing over the past couple of days is just how I'm really meant to serve the people of God. Like, my portion is really to be in service, and mine is to work with people. And the reason why the latter is something that stuck out to me is because I'm really finding myself in a space where I constantly think, shucks, man, I just wish that my portion was to just sit in a corner and like do my own thing without being seen, without being heard. Um, Disregarding just like perception. Okay, maybe not perception because that's kind of open ended, but like, yeah, just not being like wanting to be seen, obviously, and heard when it matters, but like not by the public. So those are the thoughts that I've just been having, and I'm kind of kicking off because I am learning that mine is to be seen and mine is to be heard as far as public goes. So yeah, that's why that stood out to me. I am very much in love with my baby. Like, I would, oh, I love my foundation. I love my foundation. So yeah, I went public with it recently. You guys can find us on Instagram if you're interested in following us. It's Prudence.Primrose Foundation. And primarily, we live to serve the young Black African child. So it wasn't until this week that the Lord changed my language, because He kind of communicated that the mission is bigger than I think. That I made it a South African thing. For those that have had the privilege of being exposed to my work prior to going public, will understand that for me it was just about the young Black South African child, exposing them to opportunities, breaking the cycle, bridging the gap, um, to becoming, to certain opportunities, to the working world, to education, proper education, and just breaking the barrier of poverty and the cycle, really, that it is. My language was just young Black South African child, and the Lord showed me that it goes beyond that. And so we are working for the young Black African child, and making a difference in their lives. But alongside that mission, there's also the mission to partner up with other organizations to aid them in furthering their purpose. So you guys are going to hear a lot of us. There's a lot in the pipeline for the foundation, and I'm very excited to share it with you guys. Um, so yeah, how that speaks to Illuminated Living. In fact, I think I will kind of close every update by referring to Illuminated Living. How that speaks to Illuminated Living is understanding that I am called for the younger generation. And so that's how that is finding expression. And what I want to speak to is that don't let a prophecy remain as a prophecy. And this speaking to a spoken prophecy, like somebody coming to you and telling you that this is what the Lord is saying, this is what I'm seeing, da da da, somebody giving you a prophetic word, but also just the Lord speakings directly to you. Don't let them end up being speakings. And that's the issue. It links directly to what I said about the issue in the church that I'm identifying, is that we do this thing of speaking the word at you guys, but we don't necessarily equip you with making it practical. And so the practicality of understanding that I'm called for the younger generation, that the reason why my name is Khanyi is because mine is to stand as an illuminator, to bring clarity where confusion exists, to bring light where darkness is. That's how it's one of the many ways that it finds expression through my foundation, the Prudence and Primrose Foundation. And yeah, also understanding that part of purpose is transforming lives. That's one of the biggest things that we stand for in the foundation. So it's things like that, not allowing the speakings of the Lord to just end at that and just be that, but let them find expression. If you know that you're a prophet, don't be silent. Do not be silent. Do not be, if you know that you're an intercessor, let it find expression and full expression. Um, so yeah, that's the first little update that I have. And then the second update that I have is that I've recently started the journey of positioning myself as a personal brand manager and a leadership strategist. I'm not gonna lie, they both terrify me, but the former terrifies me more than, I mean, the latter terrifies me more than the former does. And I personally think that's because with personal brand management, it's very close to what I studied. I studied strategic brand communication, my lord. So I'm kind of familiar with everything branding and communication and yeah, and yeah, strategic branding. I'm like very familiar with that. So that's why I am terrified, but not that much. With a leadership strategist, I'm just like, God, how do you go out and position me as a leadership strategist, but also seeing and picking up all the breadcrumbs that the Lord has put in my way? The Lord has been saying for the longest time that you're a leader. You're a leader, you're a leader. And I'm technically, like I've already mentioned this, that my preference is sitting in a corner doing absolutely nothing. um that I'm not one that jumps at the opportunity of leading something. I would rather just pick my portion of the work, go sit in a corner, get it done, then we'll regroup. I don't jump at the opportunity of leading something. And but when the gap is there and it needs to be met, I will rise to the occasion, even if it means that I spearhead something. And I've heard that a lot of great leaders are actually like that. I'm not discrediting anybody that jumps at the opportunity. I'm not saying that, but yeah, just speaking to just the breadcrumbs that the Lord has been leaving for me. And, for the longest time, speaking about that leadership part of my life. And so now I'm tapping into it. Yeah, it's, guys, it's the most terrifying thing in the world. And I've always said this, I've always been a big believer of doing it afraid, doing it shaking, doing it intimidated, doing it terrified, doing it tired, doing it sad, doing it heartbroken, right? Doing it even when you don't want to do it. And I believe that not even, yeah, I believe that that is so, it's so much easier said than done. And I am finding that, ooh, I'm doing it terrified. I'm doing it with my hands shaking, that opportunities to lead are showing up in this season. And I'm just like, my Lord, but we are getting it done. So yeah, I just to kind of, yeah, bring the breadcrumbs together and making it link, how that ties to Illuminated Living again is just the practicality of everything, that the Lord identifying me as a leader, I can't just leave it as at a speaking, right? I can't just leave it at a word. It has to be lived out. It has to find expression. And how that finds expression is through my businesses. Standing as a founder and an entrepreneur, that's a leadership position. Standing as a mentor in some capacity, that's a leadership position. That's it finding expression. And also when you are mentoring people, you are helping them form their personal brands, quote unquote, right? It can be literal. It can be very in a figurative sense as well. But that's how also the personal brand management role or part of me is also a finding expression. It's so also exciting and it's also terrifying, but that's exactly what illuminated living looks like. Living in revelation and not reaction, right? One of the things that, and this speaks to living in reaction, one of the things that the season was also teaching me was that if it were up to me, I would really be in a 9 to 5. If I'm being quite honest, like, obviously, because I know myself and I know how I'm wired and everything like that, I wouldn't have it any other way than I have it right now. But a part of me that doesn't like the demand of who the Lord has made me to be, what that means. So if the Lord says, I see a leader in you, I see a pioneer in you, that what that demands of me, what being a pioneer and being a leader demands of me, is what would make me want to reside in a very comfortable state of a 9 to 5 with an income. Like, that's one of the things that I'm learning. And that's a very reactive choice. It's not a choice out of revelation. The life that I'm living now and the things I'm giving birth to now come from revelation. And that's exactly what illuminated living is. But I think that's enough on starting the journey of positioning myself as a personal brand manager and a leadership strategist. I'm just going to go ahead and throw myself out there that, look, if you ever need a personal brand manager or a leadership strategist, hit me up. Okay. Hit me up. Hit me up. We have a lot on the pipeline also in terms of corporatizing that and making it find full expression. But yeah, the final little life update that I have, and mind you guys, this has all been happening between the last episode that I posted and right now. So that's why I'm calling it a little life update. It's not like over a long period of time or anything like that. No. But the last little life update that I have is resuscitating my social media management company. And I say resuscitating because it's something that has been alive since 2022, I believe. And I really thought that I was gonna get it. Okay, why am I talking like a 2K? I really I really thought that it was something that I was going to rebrand into a consulting firm. But yeah, speaking to the Lord and seeing, what the things that he's kind of just laying in my heart is to keep it as a social media management company. And so if you guys need a social media manager, please come through. Come through. Come through. Let me manage your social media because some of you guys are stressing us out. No shade, no tea. No tea, no shade. But yeah, and that really just speaks to the level of creativity that the Lord has given me. Like, sometimes I'm not even tooting my own horn, but I've been really enjoying design right now. And I think it's because I'm finding that I have to design like a lot of pieces of content for my businesses, my foundation. So I've really been enjoying design. And every single time I design like a small piece of anything, I just marvel at the level of creativity that the Lord has graced me with. And the reason why I can recognize it is because I understand that it's not an ability that everybody has. And another crazy thing, um, like another crazy way of me identifying it is when people compliment me. Because to me, I've noticed one thing about myself, that I just be doing things. Like, I was telling my friend this today, I was just highlighting that, man, I just be doing things. Like, I just be doing things. And then when people speak on it, that's when it dawns on me, okay, what I'm doing is actually big. Like my foundation as well. I just launched my foundation because that's what I should be doing in accordance to the speakings of the Lord. So to me, it's not a big thing. Until my friend, I was having a conversation again with my friend, and she highlighted to me that you starting a foundation is not a small thing. It's not a wake up and brush your teeth kind of activity. It's huge. And I think also the mandate that is attached to it, you know, wanting to break it beyond national borders is just insane. But anyway, I lost my trail of thought. I don't know how I got here, but that kind of brings to a close my little life update. And I hope that I've done you justice in kind of displaying what illuminated living looks like. That we're not here just starting companies and business just for the sake of doing it. I don't believe in that. I do not believe in that. Like, I don't care how much, and this is probably so controversial, and with all due respect and all the love in the world, but I don't believe in starting a business for the sake of starting a business just because you want to make money. No, I don't believe in that. I believe that everything should carry an assignment, everything should carry intention, everything should carry purpose. Everything. Because whatever business you open in that industry, there's something that that industry doesn't have that the Lord wants you to offer. Even in the most saturated industry, there's something very different and unique about you that you can offer. So, illuminated living is about making the gospel practical. And we're not saying now we're going to be these go-go's that are like, now, you know what I mean? No, I believe in living life and having fun and living life and just living it to its fullest, and loving and enjoying every single thing that you do. So go out, discover a hobby. Go out. There's some, okay, this is me just yapping, but there's a lady on TikTok that gave us the bright idea of getting into research as a hobby. And I'm the target market. I'm literally working on doing that, like researching something and then writing a research paper on there are so many benefits to that. You become a well-rounded individual in that you become knowledgeable about things beyond your discipline, career-wise and educationally. Like, you become so much more informed. Your muscle of critical thinking is expanded all the more. I just believe in being a well-rounded individual so much, um, that, yeah, that's kind of how illuminated living is going to be expressed. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I promise that in the absence of flu, I will not stay away as long as I did, because it may have been a week and some change, but to me, it feels like forever. I feel like I've been gone for like forever. And if there's anything that you guys should know, is that I enjoy podcasting. I love the art of speaking, the art of communication. It gives me life. Watching people do it and just observing how they think and how they process things and their view of the world. Communication is a beautiful art. So know that when I do this, it comes from the deepest parts of my heart. I genuinely enjoy doing this. But yeah, I hope that you guys have a lovely week, that the second quarter of the year treats you so well. And I'm blowing kisses from everywhere, darling. Blowing all the kisses, rather. And I love y'all, and God loves you all the more. Once again, I'm your host, Khanyi M, and thank you so much for listening.